everybody, and welcome to your 5-8 medications training. My name is Angel Burgos. I'll be your instructor for this session. We're going to go over all the 5-8 enhancements for the medications module. All right, this is going to rely on you understanding and knowing the workflow of the actual medication module. All we are covering is the enhancement portion of it. I just want to be upfront with what we plan on covering. Go ahead and take a look at exactly what we're going to cover today. 5-8 changes. Manage refill process. So manage refill process from the workflow has changed. So we'll be able to see that. I'll show you exactly what it looks like and how it works. Ability to add prescriptions that come in as unmatched to the patient's chart. Previously, we had to wait or deny unmatched refill requests, go into the medication module, and actually add that medication. Now we have the capability of sending the medication, saying, yes, this is a medication that we want, and sending it directly into the medication module and accepting it. We'll see that. New modified SIG builder capability. Really slick feature, makes it very easy for our end users to manipulate the SIG. In pharmacy download and mapping process, this whole thing has been revamped and has changed from top to bottom. Pharmacy destination search. All right. If we're looking for our pharmacies, we'll be able to take a look at that, and the process kind of follows the same mapping. It's based upon the same thing, so that whole thing has changed. Consolidated eRx and fax process. Essentially, the icon that was previously a drop-down where you've seen eRx and then fax changed. It's just a send button now, and the system will automatically look at the back-end properties and determine what the system should do or what it could do, whether it could fax or print. Prescribing delegates. We now have the capability of setting up prescribing delegates. So they have to have access to the actual system, obviously, and we'll take a look at that and how we can set up those delegates. Talk about our clinical reconciliation tool. We'll be able to get in there hopefully today and take a look at it and see it live and see what actually the clinical reconciliation tool has to offer for us. And the support of SureScript's 10.6 e-prescribing standard. This is back end or behind the scenes. You're not going to see anything for it, but we do have a slide that's just going to depict exactly what it means to us. All right, I'm going to go ahead and dive right into the application. And you can hear shortly. There we go. Oh, I don't want that. Okay. So here we are. We're in EHR. We're in a patient. All I'm going to do, you don't necessarily have to be in a patient to see this first thing. The first thing to look at here is the new Manage Renewal screen for electronic refills. So a pharmacy sends a refill request in, and there's a screen or a new GUI, so to speak, that we take a look at. At our inbox. Within the unmatched refill request, refill request. We're not talking about matched yet. We will here shortly. But you see refill request. So if you go onto a refill request and if you right click, you'll now see a manage refills option here versus the accept, deny, accept refill 1, 2, that sort of thing. We have this manage refills. If you click on that, it will then launch phase. And this isn't exactly new, but it's the same interface that you would, or GUI that you would expect when you navigate directly into the patient's chart and launch the medication module. On this screen, you get to see all the patient demographic, the provider demographic, as well as the pharmacy information. You'll see dispensed medication and the prescribed medication. Then the pharmacy, the quantity, and anything along those lines. The ability to accept whether or not you're going to refill this request. You can say exactly how many you want to refill with. So to change it, I can say one fill with 3 refills. So right now I want them to fill it. I'm going to give them 3 refills as well. I could add a note to the pharmacy. Down below, I could select or unselect all, depending on what I'm doing here. As you can see, I unselect the value. When I select it here, it holds up the information for that. My refill, I could also bring back that same feature you're used to. If you click on the little drop down here, it's a automatic refill option. So instead of you having to fill out this up here, you could simply click on the drop down and determine what value you want to accept this with. You can deny your refills. So you could select why you're denying the refill. You reset, so if you didn't like what you were doing in here, if you had some values that you weren't happy with, you could reset those. Your details here. And this is that you would find in the medication module for e-prescribed values. So you can see all the information here. Your new refill interface. There's not a whole bunch to it, but it's just a lot easier. Previously, you used to have to try to read what you could within the description and the subject, try to stretch out your there. Now things very legible, very easy to read, and it makes the end user's job a lot easier. Again, you can see everything that you need to write within the window. Now on one other here, I'm just going to cancel here. That was a single entry, right? That was a single refill request. What happens if you have multiple refill requests? So I'm just going to go into the actual counter and take a look at the medication module here. We're going to get the same interface, but on this one that we have multiple refill requests that come in. So in this particular case, the medication, but you could actually multiple medications and accept them all at the same time. Now you may have noticed that the pharmacies up here, because multiple pharmacies that have been selected, has changed. Also, medications that you were once seeing when you only had a single value selected, those medications selected. So it's not going to be able to give you the discrete data if you have multiple selected, but it does still allow you to move quickly through the list. So if I was the provider and I came in and I seen these 4 values and I said, yep, you know, 3 of the 4 I'm definitely going to refill, the one's a duplicate. So deny 1 and the other 3 I'm going to just the control button on and accept all those at once. All right. Just made it, again, very easy for our end users to navigate through the renewal process, where previously it was a little bit difficult for them to go through. Now, once you get through this screen, once you're ready to actually accept any one of these, you'll come up with a secondary screen, almost like a affirmation screen, so to speak. So even if you made a mistake here, oh, I'll actually accept that. Opening the medication module now. That's okay. Close that. We have to match with this one. All right, I came in and I said, you know, I wanted to refill with no refills. All right, I say, okay, it's going to be this next confirmation window. Shortly. And this refill response, and you'll get for the medication, and you'll just be able to go in and actually confirm the information. I apologize that it's taking so long. All right, so there was a DUR connection. This is your refill response. So this is just going through and confirming that this is exactly what you wanted to do. All right. So again, it's just saying where is it going, the information that's going to translate across, the provider information, the patient information, everything that is needed. It's just a last confirmation before the actual prescription is e-prescribed across. All right. The next is the unmatched person to chart. So a new create medication entry button that has been added to the unmatched dialog. So if you know where the unmatched refills come through, you can see them here. The unmatched refills. You double click on that, it will open up the refill request patient matching log. Or you can go up to your view option, and there is the unmatched refills in that window. So either way works, entirely up to you. But you have this new button. So if I select a specific unrefill, and you look here, it says create medication entry. This prevents users from having to deny the unmatched prescription and then relaunch the medication module and prescribing it if they needed it. So again, previously what they had to do is they had to stop right there, saying it was an unmatched refill, but it wasn't in the medication module. They would then close that out, go into the medication module, prescribe the medication, and then accept it. Then they would deny it, but they would e-prescribe that medication. So now we don't have to do all that. That workflow is irrelevant. All you have to do now is create the medication entry. This will then push that medication into the module. Again, we must have some level of prescribing rights to add the medication or eRx. So obviously they have to have some system and rights to be able to, they have to be associated with a provider and all of that in order to prescribe this medication. Now the medication is going to be added, but it's going to be added as is. Like you're not going to be able to go in there and say, you know, I don't really like the fact that this is a 2.5 milligram 325. I want to change it to 5 milligram 325. You're not going to be able to do any of that. You're just going to be able to accept it or deny it. Okay? So once you accept it, you have to go in and then you could commit the actual changes and send information through. All right. And what this will do is the medication is committed, adds it to the patient's chart, and a task is generated for approval or denial. So you can utilize this. Again, the big selling point on this particular window is this create medication entry. Instead of, again, closing out, having to go back into the medication module, relaunching it, and reordering that medication, we no longer have to do that. What I talk about is actually in the medication module. Medication module wanted to order a specific med. We go in and let's say prescribe new. Let's go with Plavix. All right. In here. We have a new SIG builder. All right. It opened automatically there once I hovered over it. As you can see, there's no SIG here. If there was a First Data Bank SIG that was associated with this medication, you would be able to see it. But we go in and we could add our SIG. Now, you may have noticed that as soon as you come in, it changes. Right? There's a bunch of, instead of having the breakdown where you had to go in and click on each SIG, well, now we have the values here, and you can just pull up whatever information you needed to. Let me try our medication. I'm going to cancel this one. I wanted to find something that has a SIG already. Let's subscribe new. Nexium. All right, so now you can see a SIG that's already SIG from First Data Bank. You have the ability to go in and you could do quick changes right here. So take how many you want by or how many times a day, 1 hour before, and you could see that information all right there instead of having to break it apart. Which first it's another click. So if you had to break it apart, then you click on the value. That's two extra clicks. So here it's a quick release, so to speak. You come in, you can click on the values and increase or decrease as you would need. Then you come in to edit SIG. Now this is the edit SIG window. You can see exactly what's going on with it. Information is coming from. Up at the top, if I hit the drop down, I could actually click on any First Data Bank recommended uses. So you'll see all those values. And not that this has changed greatly, but it is more efficient. You'll see your custom values, so if you create any new ones yourself, you'll see them come in down at the bottom. You'll also see a counter here. As you know, we have keep in within the 140, I think it is, value. And this you could keep or stay within that particular realm. 140, sorry, is the character limit here, and that's by sure scripts. So you'll be able to determine whether or not this will go successfully. And if you go over that 140, it'll give you a warning, and I'll show you that here. So you come in, obviously you could change the quantity, you could change the unit of measure, the intervals. It makes it very easy. The additional text. But we have these additional fields down at the bottom. So you actually come in, and you can say, you know, I want to see the route. And see the duration. Now you not only have the unit of measure, but how long. All right. You could show your quantity as a range. So instead of saying I only want them to have one capsule, I could say I want them to have 1 to 2 capsules each day, or whatever the SIG determines. Okay? This range interval. Thing with your range. You know, maybe you want them to take it 2 to 3 times or 2 to 4 times a day. Okay. So you have that. And you have your duration as a range. So how many times, how many days, maybe 10 to 15 days, something along those lines, you could actually add all of that. Right. Then, of course, you have your text box. Up at the top, my character count has reached the limit, and it's telling you, hey, hey, there's a warning, eRx limit reached, meaning that you have to take off some of the SIG. It's too long for what you're trying to do. The character count on this is 140 characters. So you just want to keep that in mind when dealing with the new SIG GUI. Again, values down at the bottom, and you should be fine. All right. I'm not going to actually do anything with it. I'll leave it as is. All right. We're going to talk about the free download tool. So those that know the pharmacy, how we would do the pharmacy download, it changed a little bit. We now have different processes versus just having one. Let me just go ahead and launch file maintenance here. There we go. This, the medication or pharmacy download, you do have to have rights and permissions in that real quick while we're waiting for this. So in System Admin, our operations, so again, it's at the group level, rights under operations, and looking for, there it is. Maybe medications section here. Loads. Now it's important because you'll be able to actually update and add or do pharmacy downloads now from within the application. So no longer does a user have to stop what they're doing in EHR and come back to the actual file maintenance in order to download pharmacies. Now you can do it directly from EHR. So if you give somebody the rights to do this, be aware of the capability of what they could actually do. That's the right and permission. When you're in the actual file maintenance, if you do have that permission, again, it's still going to be in the same place. It's just going to be under File and Pharmacy, Download Pharmacies. But when you launch this, there's a new window, a new GUI interface that you're going to see. And here you'll see two different, I'm just trying to center it here. You'll see two different tabs. You have a manual search, your bulk search. Now, for those that are used to the old pharmacy downloader, you would utilize the bulk search. So you were capable of running a report or running a search within a distance based off of a zip code. This is still the same way. You would fill out the information. The one big change of this, previously I think it capped out at like 20 zip codes. There's no restriction on how many zip codes or radius pairs can be stored within the system. So you could go in, you could add as many as you want, you could run your search and see new pharmacies in that area. That isn't the one I wanted to click on, I apologize. All right. So you'll see your results, you'll see the values. Now, you'll see ones that are already mapped, expired pharmacies. With this one, it's all or nothing. You're bringing them in or you're not bringing them in. All right. So you'll see all the values that are coming in. With manual pharmacy search, you continue or still utilize the zip code if you wanted, or wildcard search. Wildcard searches here are %, or you can utilize the asterisk. Either one works. So you can see all of the new pharmacies that may need to be added. Obviously, I wouldn't do this if I was working with a client, but I would be more specific for the pharmacy that I want to pull in. I don't have many in this particular system, so it's not that big of a deal. But you want to limit the search by actually adding the name. You know, if it's CVS out on First Street, you want to make sure that that information is in there. The CVS in a specific area, you want to make sure that that's in there. Sometimes they'll have the fax number or phone number, so you can search by that. Makes it a lot easier. Pharmacy search, unlike the bulk search, it just goes in with whatever values you want. Here you have the capability of selecting or picking and choosing what pharmacies are going to be added into our system. So you can see the ones that are already mapped. So you see several different options here. You'll see the new system, which is what we've seen at the top, which is what we see at the top. The mapped, another one can be mapped, already mapped and expired. Lost audio?
No.
All right. All right. So you could unselect all if you wanted to. So it's everything. I could pick and choose. You know, maybe I want this road one to come in. All right, maybe the one that I'm looking for. Or I could apply the value. I could select all if I wanted to. I could apply here. Tell me that the one pharmacy has been added for e-prescribing. So I say okay, and okay. And is your pharmacy download. It's pretty simple, but they definitely changed how it's done previously. It makes it a lot easier for the end user to come in and actually map the new values. All right. You'll also see for the pharmacy in the actual pharmacy master file. Sure, I'm just going to close this. That's our downloading tool. I'm going to go down to my master files under EHR and directly into my pharmacies. All right, I'm going to use a wildcard again. And up all the pharmacies. Here's that brand new one that I just added. You'll see here that it mapped to ePrescribe. So there's a new GUI interface here, a new column that allows you to exactly determine whether or not these pharmacies are mapped to a value. It allows us to determine whether or not they're currently mapped to an e-prescribing pharmacy. If I wanted to, I could sort by that map. Oh, search. It's going to make me search by the map. Sorry. But adding a new pharmacy, it makes it easier to go in as well. So let's go ahead and open up this pharmacy that we just added and take a look at it. All right, it's a little bit different. So now you have the demographic information for the pharmacy, the same stuff that you would see previously, but the new tab here for e-prescribing. So the users now come in to the value and manage the mapping for this particular pharmacy. So I come into my e-prescribing and see that it's clean mapped for e-prescribing, but I also go in and actually manage that mapping. So unlike the windows before where it was like a 4 to 4, there was 4 boxes, it was very confusing for the end users of what they were supposed to do with it. Here it is 1-to-1 ratio. So this is the pharmacy, this is what's mapped. If I wanted to, I could unmap that pharmacy. I could come in, I could download pharmacies again and run a search directly from within the actual pharmacy window. I come in, it says the suggested mappings, already mapped, available mappings, and I could download additional ones if I wanted to. That's just when I unmapped it. Here I can come back in, I say yes, this is the correct pharmacy, I can remap it, everything's back to normal. All right. Again, features, functionalities with the mapping and how they set this up. Like I mentioned to you previously, the old one had like those 4 windows, and you had to kind of pick and choose between the mapping, and it was very hard for our end users to navigate. All right. Cancel out of that one. Let's take a look at one that doesn't have a prescribing map. So I mentioned mapping. I could download pharmacies again. Let's say we're just going to go. Say, oh wait, this is the one that I wanted. Say okay. Oh, cancel. No, but now I have all those values. I can come in, get that particular value that I was looking for. I got the pharmacy. It's saying that it's already mapped. Do I want to continue? But I'd map that pharmacy directly from there. For pharmacy download. EHR, still staying on the same topic with our pharmacies, but ability within this section as well. So let's go ahead and finish up our. Come on. There. We got everything that we needed in there. Yeah, looks good. All right. Just going to cover for me. Come on. Our new medication there. One of the new features that I mentioned to you previously, or when we first started, is your eRx and fax button has changed. It's no longer eRx with a little drop-down. See how these ones have a drop-down? The old one used to have it was eRx or fax, and then it'd have a drop-down to the side so you could pick or choose which one you want to do. Now the system's going to basically look at the medication, look at its D level, and determine based off of your settings what could actually happen with this medication. Is it something that could be faxed? Is it something that could be e-prescribed? So here I'm just going to simply click on the send button, and you'll see the window actually come up and what's going on with it. So this one's saying that it's actually eligible for prescribing, but it's at the pharmacy isn't ready yet for that particular thing. That's why we have alerts here. But it was something that you could only fax. You would see that this forced to fax, it would already be selected for the end user, so they didn't need to do anything. But they say here, back at the end, exactly how is it going to be sent. If it was a faxed value, you'll see that that changes, and it'll show you that it's a faxed value there. So now we can come in, we could change our pharmacy. So I come in and I could search for a particular pharmacy. So if there was something that I was interested in, all right, see all of those pharmacies that are coming through. So if I went in and I found my particular pharmacy, whatever it was that I was looking for, and you see a little icon off to the left here. This changed. So previously, icon is basically saying is that this is the patient's per pharmacy, but the whole window has changed here. Previously, it was like a little storefront, and then you had a little mailbox, and it was real hard for our clients to determine between or disseminate between each of those values. They were kind of mixed in, and really hard for them to see what was in there. Now you see that it's categorized by retail, and if you scroll all the way down, you'll see your mail order. So here you'll see the preferred pharmacy is the mail order one there down there as well. Again, you could change this however you needed to. You could add that one if you wanted to. But look what we have down here, add pharmacy to system. You could still go in, you could find a pharmacy, that particular pharmacy, and pull it into our system right from here. This is why I was telling you about the rights and permissions. You want to be very careful or meticulous at who you're giving those rights to, because they'll be able to come in here and add pharmacies directly from within the application, as you can see here. All right, simply clicking on that. All right, there about the fax window. Can you move this send column over? Usually you can if it's any columns, but it doesn't look like in this particular case. So I apologize that you shrink it. But you click drag a closer to the forefront, so no. Come down here and manage your pharmacies from this section here. This is the patient's preferred pharmacies. You see the active one that's up here. Then you see the mail order pharmacy. Again, you can come in here, you can click on the drop down. Guess what? You do the same thing. You could search, you could add whatever the case was needed with that particular pharmacy. You have the capability of doing. So you do have that option to add those pharmacies from just about everywhere. Again, it's a pretty nice feature. Make it easier for the end users, so they don't have to stop what they're doing and call an admin or something along those lines. They'll be able to just click, drag, and drop it from right here. All right, the button's already changed, consolidated fax, and that functionality there for the fax button. Again, you'll see the option down here, and if you wanted to override it as an end user, you would just hit the fax button, and that would change that thing from eRx to fax. I'm going to come out of here. I don't really send anything, but there. The next we're going to talk about is the ability to utilize prescribing delegates. Practice preference that we could turn on at the practice level that allows us to set up delegates. So maintenance, under select preferences, and then to the left-hand side, once the preference list shows, we're going to look for medications. All right, down here, and see your medications. So then, underneath your medications, you'll see a new option here: allow prescribing delegates. It's going to be set in the true mode. All right, it's going to be shipped that way as well, and set in true. This basically allows the current prescribing process to remain in place. Any users that were able to prescribe, any users with prescribing rights can send and add medications for any provider. But then what we have the capability of doing is off. If you turn it off, the value is going to basically only allow the provider self-relationship to prescribe from the name. So it's really up to the practice at this point to determine. If you get on, it's business as usual. Anybody that has any type of rights that's set up with the provider, and they could e-prescribe or they could do and add medications, they'll be able to. If you turn off, the providers themselves are only people that will be able to actually send prescriptions associated with their name. Very important. That's just phase one of it. That's just one piece of it. Then you have, one add up is in EHR, under Tools, Utterances, Applications tab, you'll hear delegates. So instead of having just whoever in system admin had rights to do it, now the provider could go in and say, nope, I only want Gene to do it. I only want Sarah to do it, whatever the case may be. So they turn this on, limit the prescribing to the selected delegates. They can come in and manage those particular delegates that they want to give the rights to. Here you can come in, you can select who it is that you want to associate with that particular provider. Move them over. Over on the right, you could basically filter out. So now I'm looking at everyone, or I can go by user groups. If there was a nursing staff, or maybe I only wanted other physicians to be able to do it, excuse me, or providers, I will to streamline their list. Now, this is telling me what type of rights they have. They have e-prescribing rights. They have printing rights. But them over here, ability to delegate what they could do. Maybe I only want them to be able to print or fax. Maybe I want them to be able to do eRx. So that's entirely up to the end user how they set that up. Down here, show users linked to current provider. So you go back to everyone. The person that's associated with me. So I already have rights to do it. If there's anybody else that was associated to me, we would see that information as well. If someone's not a delegate and the provider has this turned on and they attempt to go in and send a prescription, they receive a warning basically saying that they cannot send the medication and they will not be able to move forward and send that. Delegates. That we're going to talk about is the recreation part. Okay, there was a question there. What is utilizing this option or feature? So I assume you're talking about the delegates. So some practices, they want to be in control of who is sending the medications. not just those that are associated with provider. So maybe one provider, they're very uptight and they want complete control over who is sending those medications. They basically streamline it and say, you know what, yeah, you send it for Doc Good, but my name's Dr. Scott, and I don't really like that person. I don't want them sending anything in my name, or I don't trust that particular nurse. Maybe other people have a good repertoire with that nurse, but I don't, and I don't want my name associated with anything that nurse is doing. That's one of those things that you can control a little bit more. There's, I'm sure, countless other examples, but that's just a simple one that comes to mind. All right, the clinical reconciliation process and being able to utilize the clinical reconciliation tool. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into where I could actually show you this. Now, clinical reconciliation, it's a meaningful use to requirement. All right, a meaningful use to requirement. And the requirement basically states that you be able to reconcile medications, medication allergies, and problems. All right, you have to be able to reconcile those three values. Medical problem. Obviously, we're going to take a look at the medications and see how this works. I'll do an extra screen, so you're probably seeing well, that's fine. Just trying to navigate out to the database. So just give us a second here. The clinical reconciliation, the meaningful use, also states that you electronically and simultaneously must display more lists in a single view. We'll look at that, and I'll show you exactly where that is and what it means. Second here, I'm just trying to log in, and I'll share everything with you here momentarily. All there, folks. Let me can see my desktop. You can just put a smiley face in your participant window. Currently looking at a patient lookup. Oh, great. All right, a bit longer. Again, with what's required for clinical reconciliation. Electronically and simultaneously display two or more lists in a single view. Create a single list of reconciled information. So we have a summary value that we'll be able to view there. Once that information is in that single list, you must be able to confirm and or validate that that information is accurate. So counter for today. Now, the clinical reconciliation, especially what we're interested in, which is the medication piece, you have to be fully set up and fully capable of utilizing the eRx. And when I say that, I mean fully capable of accepting, or reviewing the medication history. The medication history will pull in the outside medications, and you'll be able to actually review that information that's being imported in your system and determine whether or not it's something that you want to accept. Right now, this system that I'm getting into, it doesn't actually have SureScripts, but we're going to fake the funk. We're going to utilize a CCD, or continuity of care document, to pull that data in. So to get to the clinical reconciliation utility, you have a couple different options. You can go to your View Clinical Reconciliation. This is going to open the application in what we call View All mode. It's going to allow us to see all 5 of the different reconcilable values and be able to navigate across them. Then you'll also be able to get into it from within your actual application. So clicked on the eRx or module, I actually launch it directly from the module. And only this module, but your allergies module, your problems module, your diagnosis and procedures module. There's 5 different values that you could actually launch it from. Again, the 3 that are required for Meaningful Use 2 is your medications, allergies, and problems. When you launch it from within a module, it opens up in what we call module only mode or module view mode. And what that's going to do, I'll open it up, is to limit the user from navigating across to the other values. Here you could see my medications is selected, but I can't go into my allergies or anything else. I'm strictly stuck in that one medications tab, which is fine. That's what we want to cover for this particular session, but I do want to show you both sides of it. You see the View All mode, I navigate across from the tab, looking at information. All right. The way this is set up, along the left-hand side here is where you're going to see your imported information. This is going to be, right now we're looking at our HIE documents. These are your CCDAs or CCDs that have been dropped in or electronically pulled in from Ario. If you looked up to SureScripts and fully capable of receiving the medication history for a patient, you'll be able to see another orange bar that says SureScripts that's associated with it. You would then highlight that particular value, and you're able to then determine what you want to do with that medication. All right. The clinical reconciliation tool is broken up into 3 tabs up at the top. You have your View tab. This View tab is basically going to allow you to look at the continuity of care document. So you'll be able to go in and see the full-on raw XML data for that particular or for your from SureScripts from the medication history. Your report, that's the business aspect. We're going to spend some time on that. Then you have your reconciliation history, basically capturing anything that has transpired with any imported data. Right, you're able to see that. So on the medications tab, this is where we want to pay attention. This is what we're here for. You have your patient, or excuse me, your provider information along with your patient demographic information there. On the right-hand side, you'll see the reconciliation completed with who actually walking through this with. So if I'm doing it with the individual, I could document that I'm doing it with that person. Now, it's not required for you to fill that out, but it is a perk, so to speak. Now, in the meaningful use requirement, it's stated that you have to be able to see 2 lists simultaneously on the same screen. Here are your 2 lists. On the left-hand side, you see your EHR list. These are all the medications that are currently active, or excuse me, just currently in patient's chart. On the right-hand side is your imported list. This is where you're going to see all of the medications that are associated with that particular document or that continuity of care document. Below, you'll see the single reconciled information. This is basically saying this is a snapshot into the EHR of what the system will look like when you confirm or validate that information. And the last step is to review, validate, and confirm the final reconciled data. So at the bottom, you'll see a confirm button button, basically saying that, yes, this is what we want to do. We want to pull it in. Let's go back up to the top here. So when them first opens the document, the system's going to run its algorithms and behind the scenes, and it's basically going to determine whether or not there's any matches between the EHR list, what's currently in the patient's chart, and what is coming in through the imported document. And if it finds any matches, you'll see these little match icons. So you see these chain link icons. So you highlight one, it'll actually highlight the corresponding value of the EHR tab. If you did not agree with that match, you can unmatch those values, or you can rematch if you wanted to. So here it's saying Percocet, this is the one that I wanted to match it up with. I say OK, brings main link in. It's all going to set the action as ignore, basically saying, no, guess what? I already have the value located in my current chart or in this patient's chart. There's no need for me to do anything with it. Actions that the other medications that were in the imported side that did not find a match to the current EHR, they're going to come in with an automatic status of add. Not saying that they're going to add automatically, but they're going to look and be ready to be added if the end user does not change the action. So I just went in and confirmed. You see that these two new items would be added into the medication module. Now, that's another thing with this reconciliation utility, that it is connected directly into the module. So any changes that I confirm here will go directly into the module. Unlike the telephone template where you accept a medication, but then you still have to go into the medication module and add it. No, if I make a change here, it makes the change in the medication module as well. Here you'll be able to see there's a couple different actions that we can take. If I click on the drop down there, you'll see none, ignore, add, and or replace. Basically says, leave it alone. I'm going to come back to it. I'm going to review it at a later point. Ignore says, I see it there. I acknowledge it, but I don't want nothing to do with it. Add is basically that. It's going to add it into the patient's chart. Replace is it's going to delete a value from the chart and add the new value. So let's say that this, for some reason, this Percocet value, it was matched up, but the different or the something that you wanted that was from the imported side that you didn't quite have in the EHR side. So to actually go in and replace it, what it'll do is it'll delete the value from EHR and pull in the information exactly how it is. You wouldn't be able to change it, but exactly how it is from the import side. Now, the ability to add user notes here, so you can come in and add your own notes if you wanted to. It's up to you. I know users were asking for that, so it may be a big selling point for you if you're trying to get them to utilize the clinical reconciliation or meet that meaningful use to requirement. Inside under your EHR, you do have some capabilities as well. As we mentioned, you can unmatch, but you also have the ability to remove or delete values. So here I could actually stop this medication. It'll inactivate it and drop that value into the inactive status. I could also delete that medication. Yes, delete. It will remove it from the medication module as well as from the clinical reconciliation tool. Now, people always look at this and they cringe when you say anything about deleting. Yeah, and the delete, it's also going to create a advanced audit with that deleted option. So yes, it's deleted, but it is being tracked. You won't be able to see it from an end user perspective with the actual application. That's it, guys, for the clinical reconciliation. Again, meaningful use states that you have to have two lists where you compare those lists. If I did make any changes here, so change it to none, you'll see that consolidated list down below. I then would have to verify and determine if I wanted to confirm this particular list. Up at the top, there's a little asterisk next to the medication module. It's basically saying that there's some changes that have been made, but I haven't confirmed it. You must complete whatever task it is that you're performing before you move on or navigate on to another one. If not, it'll give you a warning saying, hey, changes were made. Do you want to keep these changes? Yes to confirm or no to cancel. So if I know, it'll allow me it'll change whatever values I had originally changed for the medication and take me to the allergies. So here you can see that one value that I changed to none, to add status. A big piece of it when dealing with the medication reconciliation is I want to know what is affecting the numerator and denominator for their actual report. And believe it or not, it's not going to have anything to do with the actual clinical reconciliation tool. They're going to be check marks that are basically going to allow them to determine whether or not they're meeting those marks. And those items that the system is looking for to affect the actual report is the patient must be a new patient. Certain times when the end has to do a clinical reconciliation, and one is the patient needs to be brand new to the system practice. Two, they need to be a new electronic summary. So basically, you see a CCD that comes in. You get a new CCD, then need to do a reconcile for that particular medication value. Or if the patient brings in or brings in a printed copy of a summary from an external source. So any one of those three is going to call for a clinical reconciliation, and the checkboxes that are on the actual KBM templates will need to be selected to determine which one meets the actual mark. Workflow is going to be typically directly from the module, from the template, from the intake template, but the module will be the exact same. All enough for clinical reconciliation. Back to our all right, we need to talk about is this 10.6 e-prescribing standard. It is met by 5.8. I forget exactly what duration of 5.8 that they've embedded it in, but basically, the end user isn't going to see anything different. It's basically the latest messaging standard from NCP-DP. We previously used the 8.1 standard. The major difference between the two standards is that 10.6 allows us to codify drugs in Rx norm and supports the codified SIG. This is not used by EHR at this point. There's really not much from an application standpoint that's changed. As I mentioned, this is more behind the scenes. There are a couple things that I do want to show you just briefly, so I'm just going to slide back through the slides because we do have just some comparing notes of what I showed you in live. We'll go back and show you some of these shots. All right, it's here. All right, file maintenance. We were talking about the pharmacy download matching GUI. There's a new one, but this is what the old one looked like. So if you couldn't wrap your head around what I was actually saying, as I mentioned to you, you had your unmapped pharmacies, and then you had your mapped pharmacies, and your target pharmacy, and your source. It was just very difficult for end users to manipulate. So I'm going to point that out to you. We're talking about the consolidated eRx fax functionality. this looked like previously, where you had the little drop down, the eRx and the fax. Now it's just a single consolidated send button. And that is it, folks. That's the last thing that I wanted to show you there. Again, what we covered today, the ability to manage new fill process, new GUI, the new interface that we've seen. We talked about the ability to add prescriptions that come in as unmatched, and how we could actually add them directly to the patient's chart. We talked the ability to modify the SIG builder and the new SIG building capability. We talked about the enhanced and mapping process. With pharmacy destination search process and how you could actually download your pharmacies directly from there. We have the consolidated eRx and fax button, how that works. We then looked at the delegates, how that was all set up. We viewed the co-reconciliation tool, especially the medication section of that. And we briefly talked about the supporting the 5.8 supporting SureScripts 10.6 e-prescribing standard. And when it concludes